Hey there guys, thanks for visiting my YouTube channel. My name's John and this video is answering a user submitted question that came in on the channel. And every day, Monday through Friday, we take live questions on the John Campea Show. But every once in a while, somebody sends in a tip or a super chat that's like $50 or more. And I like to honor those by answering those questions on the show, but also answering them again in their own standalone video. So that's what we're gonna do right now. And this one comes to us from Master of Odin, who writes, "Hey John and crew. After seeing the final chapter of the Skywalker saga, of course, Rise of Skywalker, I was left wondering, could they have brought back the character Snoke as the main villain? No explanation is needed, which would have allowed a better conclusion to his story." All right, thanks a lot for sending in that question, Master of Odin. And, well, I mean, there's a couple of problems, I think, with what you're suggesting. Number one, you could bring him back without any explanation. No, we just watched him get cut in half in the previous movie and die. If you're gonna have him back in the third one, you got to give some sort of explanation. They didn't with the Emperor. Yeah, and that was a problem. So I think you would have faced that same problem. You definitely would have needed an explanation for Snoke returning at the same time. Now, everybody knows by now that as a massive Star Wars fan, I was not a fan of The Rise of Skywalker. I didn't like this one. I love The Force Awakens. I like The Last Jedi. I did not like The Rise of Skywalker, and that's fine. But the problem with the movie was not that they brought the Emperor back. That's not the problem. You can do almost anything. Hell, you can make a movie about Legos. Who would have ever thought you could take a movie about little plastic building blocks? Really? It's a stupid idea. But they made it. And the movie was awesome, right? The problem wasn't that they brought back the Emperor. The problem was in terrible, terrible execution. Terrible execution. It could have been done so much better with the concept of having the Emperor back. It could have been great. But I feel like the issue was execution, and that's what it normally is. It's normally an issue of execution, not so much concept. Now, that being said, you could have brought Snoke back and it could have been just as bad or worse than the Emperor, or you could have brought him in, and even though it's not that great of a concept, it could have been great, but it still comes down to the execution. Because if you're not going to execute it right, it really doesn't matter which concept you decide to go with. And I would also say this, Snoke didn't need a conclusion to his story. You know, I make this argument a lot, and no one's ever given me a valid response to this, but it's like, when you go back and watch the original Star Wars trilogy, which was all there was to Star Wars for a very, very long time, you never ever knew anything about the Emperor. We didn't know his backstory. We didn't know where he came from. We didn't know how he became Emperor. We didn't know how he took over the Galactic Senate. We didn't know how he became the master of Darth Vader, other than he was seduced by the dark side of the Force by the Emperor. Other than that, we didn't know anything really about it. And how did it end? Vader just decided, I'm picking my kid over you, picked him up and threw him down a pit. At least that's what we thought was the end of his story. But it was a perfectly fine, perfectly good, perfectly rational end to that character. And when you look at The Last Jedi, I actually believe the Snoke end was just as valid as the Emperor. We didn't know a lot about Snoke, but we knew more about Snoke than we did about the Emperor in the first trilogy. And he died pretty much summarily like the Emperor did, and that was fine because he was never the main character there. So I don't actually think that part was a problem. So no, I don't think on its surface that just bringing back Snoke as the villain for The Force Awakens would have made The Force Awakens any better. It's possible they could have executed it better, but then again, they could have executed the Emperor thing better too. So anyway, that's just how I kind of feel about it. The question here though, guys, is how do you feel about it? Do you think maybe just by the nature of the concept, bringing Snoke back as the villain would have, by in and of itself, on its own nature, made The Rise of Skywalker a better movie? Maybe it would have made it a worse movie. How do you think about that? Jump down into the comment section below and let me know what you think. All right, guys, that'll do it for me for now. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.